everybody. Tony G from MusicLegacyInternational.com. Today's guest on our podcast is Leo Nocentelli, fantastic guitarist for the band The Meters. In 1965, Leo developed the Orleans funk guitar sound of The Meters, changing the way that music was done back then. He played with greats like Robert Palmer, Paul McCartney, Etta James, and Dr. John, who I want to talk to him about a little bit more in the interview. He recorded a solo album back in the early 70s, and he's working on his new book that we'll have to have another interview in the future to talk more about, with some fantastic information in that. I'm honored to introduce Leo Nocentelli. So what I wanted to do is maybe go way back to where it all began, when you first had your first interest in music. From what I heard, did you start with the ukulele? Is that true?
Well, yeah, semi. It was actually a toy that my dad introduced me to, and it actually $2.98, a little plastic ukulele, and it had four nylon strings on it.
Wow.
And that's what kind of the first time I picked up something that had strings on it and had a neck, and develop a certain feel about the guitar. Tapping on like a 4-string ukulele, toy ukulele.
My first guitar was a plastic guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started from the bottom, from the bottom, man, and just kept on, never gave up, to where I am today. It just never nonstop. When I picked it up, man, I just fell in love with it. This is what I wanted to do.
Who are you most inspired by, or early influences that you feel affected your career?
Well, there was a bunch of local, when I was real young, a bunch of local people, local musicians. And until I started listening to that records, people like Kenny Burrell and Wes Montgomery, Barney Kessel, Howard Roberts, I was listening to everybody, everybody I could. I started out wanting to be a jazz guitarist. Let's see, I wanted to be like Wes Montgomery on the front cover. That was my intention. Until I started writing songs. And when I started writing songs, that's a jazz thing. But basically, when I really started writing, it was in regard to the Meters, and and other people too. But really, prolifically. When the Meters started recording.
So back before the Meters, were there other bands and groups that you played with? Or was that like your first?
Different bands, but that, I had a reputation actually at 10 years old, by this little guy uptown. And I'm gonna tell you this story here. I was riding my bike, and I was snotty-nosed, had a cold, and dirt all over my face. Just got through playing marbles. And this limousine camp was riding down my street, and he pulled me on the side. I was on a bike, so keep imagining how I looked. And the guy came out the window and asked me, he said, "We're looking for a little guy named Leo Nocentelli." And I said, "I'm Leo Nocentelli." And he looked at me and went, looked in the back seat, way in the back. And he looked at me and said, "Oh, we can't use this little guy." I was just too young, even though I could play, but I was just too young, for them to go on the road with anybody. And the person in the back seat was Fats Domino.
Wow.
And that's how early I had a reputation around the city.
Now, how would Fats Domino have heard about you?
I have no idea. As a matter of fact, let me finish the story. I don't really know. I guess it's because he heard he needed a guitar player. You know, I think Papoose. Something happened to Papoose, his regular guitarist, and I saw after they pulled off, I saw Fats. We did a TV show in New York, and I had 40 years after that. My reputation really built up. I mean, everybody knew who I was.
Yeah.
You know, like 40 years after that, even Fats. Well, he didn't know exactly who I was, but you know, I had a reputation. So we were about to do the TV show, and Fats was sitting at the piano, and I started telling him about the story when the limousine came down my street, and you guys pulled off because you felt like I couldn't be in the band because I was too young. And Fats promptly told me, said, Leo, that was you?
He remembered.
You know, this was 40 years after, man.
Yeah.
See, that was me, Fat. That was me. You know, so I found that to be very, very interesting, man, that it happened like that. You know, that he remembered this little guy on a bike 40 years ago.
That's a fun story to have.
Yeah, that was me, Fat.
Now, I know that you're working on a new book, and that'll probably be in there, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I've been working on it for years. You know?
Well, I hope when it's ready to come out, we could do another interview and focus on the book, get you some attention on that.
There you go.
That would be
great. I'll still be around to finish it.
Yeah. Now, some of your earlier influences you had mentioned. Now, what about these people that you played on their albums, these world-renowned musicians that you've played with? How did it feel? Not nowadays, but as you were coming up in the career and you started to meet these people and get involved in these projects, how did that make you feel?
Oh, I was scared to death. You know? very, very much afraid, man. You're playing with people like Chuck Rainey, Bernard Purdy, James Gatson, you know, people like that at that level, man. You know, that there's a guy that I had confidence. Yeah, I had confidence in myself, but you know, there's always that fear of playing with somebody that you admire, that you heard of. It's a feeling. It's an unreal feeling, man. It's like it's a good feeling because the only thing that make it good was I was anxious to show them what I could do.
Yeah.
You know, that was the good part about it.
Yeah.
But other than that, my knees were shaking.
And now, how did the meters come to be? How did that all happen?
You know, I was playing with Art Neville. He had a couple of hit records out, Mardi Gras Mambo and Shaduki Doo, songs like that. And there was a group, it was Art Neville, it was just his band, the Hawkettes, actually. Art Neville and the Hawkettes. So he asked me to come play a few songs, play a few gigs with him, and we develop a relationship over time, and it went on to Art Neville and the Neville Sounds. That's what the band Neville, Art Neville and the Neville Sounds. So I started going under that name, and we started doing things. One of the gigs that stands out in regard to the meters, how the meters got started, man, was called the Nightcap, where I played with him, and the drummer named, I can't even remember Glenn's last name. The drummer died, and then that's when Zig came into the band, Zigaboo Marvelous, and after that, a little after that, the bass player got drafted into the Army. So he joined Art Neville and the Neville Sound. So That was the nucleus. That was the four guys, the four people that really eventually came out to be the Meters. So after we played together at the nightcap. It was a gig we got on Bourbon Street, called the Ivanhoe, on the corner of Toulouse and Bourbon. We was playing there almost every night in the French Quarters. A guy by the name of Alan Toussaint frequent the place. This was during segregation, man. New Orleans was highly segregated. And, as a matter of fact, when he came in, they let him in, but they wouldn't let no blacks, no other blacks. The black was about, we look out the window, man, it'd be about maybe 200-300 black people listening to what we were doing, but they couldn't come in the club. Wow. But for some reason or another, they let Alan Toussaint in. I could understand that.
Yeah.
So he was so enthused over the band, man, that he said, "Look, man, we're gonna record you guys. Y'all thinking about a recording?" And we said, "Yeah, of course." First thing we did was a song I wrote called "Sophisticated Sissy." It was about a dance, and that did kind of moderate. And then we went in again, and did when. We used to open up our sets with a song called "Hold It." I think it was the Bill Doggett sounding. But everybody opened up their sets with it. So I got kind of sick and tired of it. So I introduced a melody to Art George and Zig, and we started opening up our sets with it. And Alan Toussaint said, "Look, well, let's go and record the song." So we did. And when that song came out, man, it sold like 250,000 copies within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Which was phenomenal back then. And then we were forced, because it was a co-op thing, it went from Art Neville and the Neville Sound to a name picked out of a hat called The Meters. And that's how the name came through that song, through the success of that song. And, it went on and on and on. We did 3 albums for this record label called Josie Records. And I was still writing. I was basically the main writer for the Meters. None of them really knew the intricacies of writing songs. George, Zig, Art came up with Art was about the closest one, because he wrote some things in the background. But this was strictly instrumentals that we did for Josie Records, and the responsibility kind of fell upon me. And we did 3 albums, man, and it did very well. Then in 1971, the label went defunct, and it just stopped. So we were stuck without a record label. So this went on for about a year. And I started writing some other songs. One of the projects I did was an album called Another Side, which is an acoustic record, which is kind of not like me. That's why I called it Another Side. And here's the album here, I think. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
This album here. And that's me at a jazz fest in 1971, something like that. You can see the cigarette in my mouth.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that album came out, man, with, all I could say is, after almost a year, I was listening at a lot of James Taylor, Mudslide Slim, and Sweet Baby James. And I said, this guy is writing, lyrics and chord progression that I never played before. So I wrote like 10 songs and went in the studio and recorded really embryonic, man, like just to the point where you make mistakes and all this kind of stuff. And you tell Cosmo Matassa, who was the engineer in the studio, on to listen, make me a copy. Make me a copy, man. I want to take it and see if I like what I'm doing. So right after that, all of a sudden, the Meters got a record deal from Warner Brothers. So immediately I put that thing aside, even though it was, I just put it aside, didn't even think about it anymore. And so we went in and did the Meters, signed with a label called Warner Brothers. And we did like Cabbage Alley record. I forget the name of the rest of them, but it was about two, three albums we did. We did 8 altogether. Like on the third album, it was maybe a couple of decades past from when I started this acoustic record called Another Side. So I started writing songs for that particular time for the Meters, like A Pocket Way and Fire in the Bayou, People Say, all those stuff. So another decade passed. So we're talking about 30 years now.
Oh, was it that long?
That original acoustic record. So after about 30 years, man, I completely forgot about that record. Completely, it wasn't nowhere near in my mind. I was concentrating on what I was doing now, writing songs for the Meters, for Warner Brothers. So I think another decade. So we're like in the 40 years, man, and past.
Wow.
So there was a 7.5-inch copy that the engineer gave to me 40 years from then, 40 years ago in 1971. Some people bought C-Saint Studios, which was, Alan Toussaint and another guy named Marshall Sion's place, because Katrina happened and destroyed everything.
Oh, right.
All the machines and everything, man, almost everything. So they bought the studio to renovate it or whatever, and they sold all these albums, 3/4-inch masters, and my little lowly 7.5-inch copy that I did 40 years ago.
Wow.
So they said, well, look, we don't want to throw all this away. It's not track. They had 1/4-inch masters that Alan produced, Aaron Neville, Chocolate Milk, and the list goes on, man. We produced during that time. And they sent it to Los Angeles and put it in the storage compartment. This is after 40 years. And I didn't know anything about it. I thought the thing was gone. So I get a call from Mike Nikita, one of the Beastie Boys, and he said, one of the Beastie Boys that tell me, well, actually they sold the people that originally got the storage compartment, lost it too when they found. So the storage compartment was bought by a flea market or swap meet people. And when you buy that, you buy the storage space and you buy whatever's in it. They own it. So they took those, rather than throwing those tapes away, they put it out on a table at their flea market, at their swap meet. And a guy named Mike Nikita, who was with the Beastie Boys, saw all these tapes, so he knew who that was. He knew Aaron.
You're
he knew
so
the
lucky.
He knew Leo. So he bought them all, and then he called me up. He said, Leo, I have a tape for you. I said, really? So I didn't recognize anything what he said until he started mentioning the titles of the song.
Yeah.
So then I said, man, you have that tape? He said, yeah, man, I'm gonna send it to you. So he sent me the 7.5-inch copy, which I never laid eyes on for over 40 some years. So, but little did I know that he played that 7.5-inch copy to a record label called Light in the Attic. They loved it, whatever stages it was in, they loved it, and they called me up to see if they could make a record deal with that particular tape. I said, sure, man. So they gave me some money, and the album came out about 2 years ago, something like that. And right now they can't keep the record in the stores.
Nice.
Unbelievable story, man.
That's an excellent
That's how that
story.
thing happened. Yeah.
I've heard similar stories where the whole contents of a storage compartment were trashed. You're so lucky that the right person saw that.
It's all spiritual. That's the way actually the first time that stuff like that happened in the history. You don't find a 50-year-old Count Basie, 50-year-old Duke Ellington, or whoever 50-some years ago turned out to be a hit record. 50-year-old, that oxymoron. It's an oxymoron. You have, in other words, you have a brand new 50-year-old record that's a hit.
Brand new 50-year-old.
Right. So it's all spiritual, man. 'Cause stuff like that don't happen normally, man. So, and the record is I still get royalties from Light and the Attic. The record is still selling, man.
Nice.
So I get a chance to go out and perform it every now and then, acoustic. Most people hire me for the funk stuff, but I can kind of squeeze it in every now and then.
Now, before this interview, I saw
the really amazing thing about it. There's been over 6. If I own the publishing, I own everything on it. So there's been 6 licenses that I've given to 6 different movies for the use of those songs that's on that record.
That's the way to go.
It's amazing, man.
That's excellent. Now, why don't you tell me a little bit how you felt when you received the Lifetime Achievement Award?
Oh, it's phenomenal. That's all I can say.
Must have been great.
All those years that, the Grammy Academy for Music, gave the Meters a Lifetime Achievement. It was us. I think we was awarded that night. It was Neil Diamond, the Monkees guy, the Monkees, people like that.
Nice.
Tina Turner, and we was one of those. So we performed. There's a video out of us performing 2 songs for that event. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, that must have been fantastic. That must have been a great feeling.
Yeah.
Now, can you explain a little bit about second line rhythms?
Well, second line rhythm is basically a feeling. It's not a musical term that you could just, we're going to write second line music. It's you could call it whatever you want, but it's the feeling that New Orleans people understand, especially the musicians. It's when when somebody dies, they have a second line behind the body. They parade the body down the street, up the street in a coffin, all the way to the gravesite. And there's a band that plays brass band, all brass, drums, and people dance behind it and celebrate. They celebrate death,
Yes.
With that concept, with that music. They celebrate death, which is one of my religious beliefs, that it's a blessing to die.
Yes.
It's a blessing. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you went through all kind of changes and obstacles as an embryo, and trying to get in your mother's egg, and where she could give you birth to become alive. And there's gazillions of other embryos that didn't make it. They won't ever get a chance to be born.
Right.
So, but what comes with being born is the fact that you're gonna die. And when you die, that's the only, you have to be alive, be born to be one with the Creator. It's the only way. Other than that, you just chromosomes or tadpoles. Just never had the opportunity to be born.
Yeah.
So being born and being alive, man, is a blessing. So that's when I equate that. A lot of people don't understand it. Understanding that we were blessed to be alive, which ultimately means that we are blessed because of being alive. We are blessed to die. So I look at death as a celebration more than the end.
Yeah, the opening of a new door.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We were blessed to die. In other words, we were blessed to be born as humans. You know, we were blessed to be born and become alive through our mother and our father. But you know, everybody know that since the beginning, well, we know it's the time that you have to die. Nobody has been here to live forever. You might live longer than people nowadays, and back in the game, you live longer. But you have to die. So in order to receive that blessing, you have to die. That's why I look at dying as a blessing.
Yeah, and that's why every day is special. You have to make it good. You have to make as good as you can. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do with humans. You know, it's hard to do because you feel that, you know, you could do something else. It's hard to do, but if you're able to accomplish that, to me, that's the way to go.
Now, when people talk about the Meters and the influence that you've had on modern music, the music of our times, that's got to make you feel fantastic too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, to know that I, some kind of way contributed to what music is today. You know, and I hear a lot of bands and artists and you could tell that they was influenced by the Meters, you know, by the music, and that's always a comforting feeling and a really gratitude, so to speak. I'm grateful to be able to do that, but you know, to go haywire with that, you know, I just was doing what I felt. You know, it wasn't planned. You know, I'm going to write these songs and write this riff. Yeah. You know, because I want people to scream and holler, and I want them to play like me or to play like this concept. You don't ever think about things like that.
You just share your gift.
Yeah, you come with the end result is what happens, whatever happens at the end. So I'm very happy to be able to be influential in a lot of these, you know, bands and young musicians. I'm very grateful for that.
And now some of the more recent music has samples of your old music in it. That's got to be a great feeling, that you're being recognized by a whole new generation.
Yeah, over 500. I can't even come up with the samples.
Is it that many? Wow. I knew it was a lot. I didn't know it was over 500.
Oh yeah, man. Some of them just, and the real trip is a lot of them just sample the guitar, because with the Meters, if you listen at the songs, I would say 80% of the songs, it's all led by the Meters because I wrote it on the guitar. And somebody said like I'm like the lead singer in a group, like Smokey Robinson was to the Miracle, Lionel Richie was to the Commodore, what Levi Stubbs was to the Four Tops. You know, what David Ruffin was to the Temptations. And so they always have to have some person to stand out like that, because of the songwriting, and I was featured a lot on the songs. I think that's what I became. I became like a lead singer, a lead singer of a group, but you know, through playing instrumentals and through an instrument, put it like that. Not vocally, but through an instrument.
That's excellent. So now, what's your plans for the future?
To keep breathing.
That's a good one.
keep inhaling and exhaling. Yeah. You know, that'll be cool. That'll be cool for me. You know, my legacy to me it's already happened already. You know, there's nothing too much more I can do. You know, just to keep on doing what I'm doing. I don't think about it trying to do something different too much, because at my age, you know, I'm 79 years old, and at my age, all I think about is just trying to maintain a reputation and to get in a position where you have guys like you contacted me about doing interviews, and stuff like that. That's very gratifying to me.
Yeah, I'm honored to do it. Honored.
Thank you.
So Larry told me, did you play at the Super Bowl?
No, I was supposed to. It got canceled. Yeah, that particular segment got canceled. I don't know what happened. I think the people waited too late to get the license to put it on. But no, it got canceled. I was looking forward to that.
Yeah. I was going to drive down with Larry, and be there for that, but it didn't happen.
Oh.
Yeah. I didn't realize that the whole thing didn't happen.
No, the whole thing, it was at the Spanish Plaza, which is it wasn't at the Superdome itself, the building, but it involved Cardi B. I mean, heavy duty people, man. Myself, to represent New Orleans, the music to pick me to that for that. I felt honored about that, and I hope, and it didn't happen. But one good thing happened about it. I got paid anyway.
Oh, nice. That's always a plus. Now,
well, I always try to. Yeah, go ahead.
I know New Orleans is a big place. Do you know someone named Trombone Shorty?
Of course, I just did a festival with him.
Did you?
I mean, to come and sit in with him. It was myself and Lenny Kravitz on the stage together. Playing one of the songs.
I contacted them to try and get in touch with him to do an interview with him. They never got back to me.
Yeah. Well, if I see him, man, I'll definitely, turn him on. He's always been a personal. I have a record that hopefully I can find a deal for that incorporates different artists. I call it The Project. Myself, I did duets, myself and Peter Gabriel, myself and Stanley Clarke, myself and George Duke about 6 months before he died, myself and Trombone Shorty, myself and Kirk Whalum. And yeah, it's about 8 different artists that I did duets with, man, a few years ago that I'm still trying to get a record deal for it. I think it's phenomenal. Some of the best stuff I've ever done with music. I wrote all the songs and played with all these great people. It was such an honor that, that they decided to say, look, yeah, we want to do this for Leo. I was very touched by that.
That's fantastic.
The only thing I could say, man, is that I'm going to keep on, doing what I have to do. And I don't know no other way. Unless I get deathly sick or whatever, where I can't do it no more, I'm going to do it as long as I could. So I want the people to know that you're going to always hear some things coming from Leo as long as I'm alive. Maybe probably more when I'm dead than alive. So
possibly.
All you can do, man, is what you can do in life. That's all you can do.
Well,
I'm not trying to run for president of the United States, that's for sure.
No, but you're being you. That's the important thing.
But it's been I want to say this. I want to say this to the audience that it's been a pleasure doing this with you, and whatever comes from this, if it helps, what who you are, and what this organization is trying to do for other people, younger people. Maybe from the advice I might give them or from what they might have heard me say on this interview. It's I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, and I hope something happens positive from this.
And Leo, from our hundreds of members worldwide, we thank you for the music and the time that you spent with us to bring us inside, what it is to be Leo. And we appreciate you.
Hey,
Thanks so much.
I'm glad to be added to that equation, to be that person. It's gratifying to me to know that I meant that much, to
So
someone.
now when that book comes out, I want to read that book. So make sure you let me know. We'll do another interview and get it out there.
Let me know your address. I'm going to bring it to your house. You let
All
me
right,
know your
cool.
address. I'm gonna bring it to your house. I'm gonna deliver it to
Nice.
you personally.
You got
All right.
it. You got it. Yep.
All
I
right.
can't wait to get together, maybe with Larry, and we could let him do most of the talking.
You know,
He's a great
that's
guy, Larry.
automatic.
He's a great guy, Larry. He really is, and you know,
Yeah.
he's
Good
who
friend of mine,
introduced me
but-
to you. So I'm very grateful to him for that.
Yeah, he's been a friend of mine, man, for years, man. You know? And I grew attached to him, you know. An honest guy when it comes down to being who he is. I'll put it like this. There's nothing fake
Yeah,
about Larry Blumenstein.
he's got a good heart.
Music Legacy International.